All right, ladies and gentlemen, David Costa, Renegade Aviator. Welcome back to Air Racing, past, present, and future, live on wherever the hell you're looking at me right now. We've got a guest for today. His name is Pete Zaccagnino. We're having a little bit of a technical glitch in the background. And while we work on that, any good aviator will, of course, have an alternate plan. So while we work out those technical issues in the background, I'm just going to blast, man. Let's go. So a couple of updates. I know everybody is asking about the air races, what's going to be happening. And the update as of today with Tony Logatetta, the head guy, is end of April. So we're being told end of April, we will have an answer on those final three cities, which are, let me bring up my slides here. I can bring out all that stuff up. I don't even need the slides. You know what the last three cities are. They're end of April is the update. But most importantly, and not that the air show is more important than the air races, but we need to keep our eyes on the prize. Right now, we have a fantastic air show planned for October right here in Reno, Nevada, October 4 through 6, the Reno Air Show. And what I want you guys to do is go to renoairshow.org, renoairshow.org, and buy your tickets now, because they are on sale, and there's some VIP tickets. There's all kinds of options for you. It's going to be a great air show, and I know I say this each and every week, but I'm going to do something while we're sitting here waiting to see if we can work out our technical glitch. I see Pete coming on in the background, but let me just finish up where I was, is if you go and get your tickets to the Reno Air Show and send me an email at renegadeaviator@gmail.com. What I'm going to do is send you for free one of our decals. I'm going to make it even better as an incentive for you to get your tickets in advance. And I'm going to do one more thing, is each and every month, we are going to have drawings for t-shirts. The Renegade Aviator Cruise shirt with the skull logo behind me. We're going to have those for each and every, well, not for everybody, but for the ones who win. Not everybody is a winner, unlike some people would like to believe. But go ahead and get your tickets. I'm going to bring Pete on, since I see him in the background here, just so he and I can say hi to each other. Totally unscripted and unprompted. Here we go. Pete Zaccagnino. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How's it going, Dave?
Good, man. Hey, sorry about the glitches there, but we got it going. We're aviators, both of us, and we adapted and overcame. Right on. Well, for those of you that don't know, I mean, Pete, I mean, you don't need an introduction, but I'm going to give you one anyway. 4-time air racing champion, so pretty darn cool. What, 3 times in a jet, right? I think it's 2019, 15, and 13, jet gold. Real exciting races. And then it looks like you had a sport gold in somewhere like 2007. Tell me if my memory is pretty good there.
That's perfect. Spot on.
Right on. Yeah. Well, Pete and I have been friends for a while. And I'm really grateful, Pete, that you could come on, because I think one of the biggest things we had initially on these things, we're talking about this next generation in air racing. And I've been harping on everybody to say, look, each of us does what little we can to help. So since I can't do much, I do a podcast. Guys like you will race. I'll go out there and I'll just do a podcast. But it's kind of our way to kind of keep air racing alive, because you've been involved with it for years and years. And one of the biggest things I had people telling me is we need more racers. So we had Marilyn Dash on, and Marilyn, of course, in the biplane class. And so, Pete, you coming on board from jet, which is my favorite class, of course, and sport class. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, you bet. I'm glad to be here. I mean, anything that helps the overall world racing events and brings some attention to it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time here after the races. It was without a lot of fanfare, I guess. We were all told all at one spot that no more racing. So everybody
Yep.
kind of threw their hands in the air. Then I was at ICAST this year, and then we heard about the Reno Air Show, which those of us sitting there in the audience, we had no idea there was going to be a Reno Air Show. And sure enough, we've got one this year. It's going to be fantastic. I'll talk about that more towards the end of the show. And then we're looking at 2025, and we're down to 3 cities. And as I was saying right prior to you coming on board, we ought to have an answer, according to Tony, by the end of this month. So pretty
Right.
cool.
And that's my understanding too. We'll have that answer, and then we can press ahead for a new championship location.
Oh, I mean, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? I mean, are you looking forward to this new chapter? You got questions or concerns?
I have a lot of conflicting opinions. You know, racing's hard to do, and I don't even mean it so much like financially and skill. I mean, it's really hard to make such an event occur, and I would love to have seen that we have, back to a circuit where we've 10 races a year or something similar to that. And so that clearly, after the Cleveland accident, really stopped that, so to speak. We don't have the Bendix event anymore from years ago, and other races. There's a few around the world, and they're doing well, like the ARC circuit. They've had their struggles because it's really hard to do. You need a location. You do need money. You need participants that are skilled and safe to do it, and it's still hard to do. And you got to make that all come together in a perfect balance. And then you have the legal side, both in the bureaucracies like the FAA and others, and the insurance side. And it's a really tough road. Now throw in political conditions, and it makes it even harder. And,
Yeah.
We're in a different age right now, and the age isn't dreaming about building an airplane and going out and scaring yourself in it and figuring out what to do. We're in the age where we watch things on video, and that's not helping it. It's a tough climate to be in for the promotion of racing, something like this, and I think that's a real challenge. So for me personally, like it was. I got 20 years of racing in, a bunch of wins and championships, and it's not that as hard for me, I think. But if it was 15 years ago, I think it would be horrible. And that's how I see it: is the folks, the guys and gals that are bringing up a plane and raising that plane and developing that plane. They may or may not have a venue to really see that plane come to fruition, and their skills come to fruition. And that's tough. And
It is.
so I'm concerned. Bottom line is I'm concerned. What do you got playing there?
Well, I mean, I'm concerned too. I guess I just found this online. I hope I can use it. It's I
Sure.
give credit to the Supersonic Productions there, but yeah, I mean, we had so much fun at the races, from the fans, from the racers. It was something that, in one aspect, we may never see again, right? But on the other aspect, we may see something totally new. As I was talking to Tony, initially, I mean, he hears everybody. We do need a circuit. We need a variety of these to get sponsorships and all that, but you got to start with the one. Well, unfortunately, the one has been told to move. So we're back to the one. I mean, I agree with everybody, but I'm just glad to see that, those of us that, those of us that love air racing are too stupid to quit, maybe.
It's definitely a passion, that's for sure. It's there's no one side to this other than the fact that it is a passion, that we're all here doing this, and a lot of people are doing this. So that's fun to see my video up there. I haven't seen this in forever. This is from 2015 race.
Yeah.
When we won with the Vampire, and this is cool.
Yeah, it was a cool race. I kind of like seeing a different jet fly out there, although, I mean, it's all the jets are cool, all the race planes are cool, but it was neat to see the Vampire out there flying around. And part of this whole thing too is, well, I guess the one news that had come out of my conversation with Bobby Thompson on one of our previous episodes was, and you may already know this, you probably do, no speed limit on a new course for the Jets. Have you heard that?
I've heard that rumor. No speed limit is a whole different animal. I'll be out there with a MiG.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I said. As a MiG 17 with an afterburner. We've seen that back in like what 2000 or whatever the hell that first.
Yeah.
So I mean, what does that mean to you as a racer? No, well, first of all, I used to ask questions to people like you saying, well, what the hell is a speed limit doing on a race course in the first place, right? So most people were like, what the hell? They had no idea there was a speed limit on the race course. And now we're talking about, with the new venue, removing that speed limit. What does that mean to you as a racer?
Yeah, I mean, the speed limit we've had imposed, I understand it. It was awkward because I can't tell my lap speeds while I'm 100 feet, 50 feet off the ground. It's not happening. And so we have to use ground folks to time my laps and figure out that, I'm not going to bust the speed limit, because after all that work to bust the speed limit, that would be a horrific scenario to lose because you went too fast. And that's the part that stings. But I get why, with the scatter and keeping the course safe in the confines of Reno at Stead Field. I understand it. I don't have to like it, but I do understand it, And I mean, because I've posted 560 laps, and it's the average though, and that's why my 560 lap, I was safe and didn't get disqualified because it's the average for the race. And so to not have a speed limit is going to be a huge game changer, because we're going to have different planes. Bottom line, I've picked my planes throughout the years for financial reasons, for availability, and of course, what I can race on the course and be right up against that speed limit. And that's a huge difference. I mean, you could show up with a T2 Buckeye and do 600 miles an hour, or a T-Bird, or again, back to a MiG 17 if they really want to let us cut it loose.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, and that's what racing is all about. I mean, we had at the one point, there's the crowd that loves the unlimiteds, right? And the unlimiteds this, the unlimiteds that, and I love the unlimiteds. I love all the classes,
sure.
But Jets were kind of given a kind of a sidestep, right? I mean, you had the unlimiteds as they were the fastest class, where we knew for a long time they were not even close, and the Jets could do a whole lot out there. I mean, so I think that'll be a big draw to this new class. I mean, it's going to bring its own set of challenges. Not just anybody can go at the speed of what a MiG 17 will do on a course, right?
Yeah.
Or even the T2 Buckeye, which is not an afterburning airplane, but 600 miles an hour, 600 miles an hour, no matter how you look at it. So it's going to bring its own set of challenges.
When I was coming up through the ranks, and the first time I did 300 miles an hour, I was like, wow, that was fast, and then I had that same response at 400 and then at 450. But I can tell you this, the difference from 450 to 500, that was a huge difference. It wasn't the same as 400 to 450. And the G's aren't that bad. We get a lot of talk about G's, but the whole G thing, it's not that bad. I mean, at 500 and 530 miles an hour, I'm going around the course. Yeah, I'm reaching 5.5 here and there, and occasional spikes from the atmosphere, but we're not sustaining 8-9 G's. It's just not that horrible. But the timing and self-preservation, that gets a little challenging as the speed increases. And on the course, as you know, Dave, I'm using cuts in the desert and landmarks like bushes and landmarks like a little pathway. And as long as they don't move, every year I look for those in the practice. So the new course is going to bring that whole new challenge. If we're doing 600 and we have a whole bunch of different education going on for the course and our barriers, meaning, out of bounds and all that type of stuff, it's going to be a different animal.
Yeah, and it'll again be a different. The whole thing is a different animal. So
Yeah.
we might as well break the old rules, I guess, and start from
Yeah.
scratch. It looks like Laura's showing that we have questions from the audience. I've been ignoring them, but Laura, why don't you bring up? She's in the background lurking. Bring up. There we go. Byron. Oh, there you go. Pete. A few years ago, you had a Mayday in the Vampire. Can you talk about how that all went down? Any
Sure.
comments on that?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I don't want to hog the show with the emergency, but it was I had 3 Maydays basically. It was a complicated event. Um, I was in 3rd place. We found the problem that caused my speed decay in 2016, and we fixed that. So I knew I was going to pass people, and I'm winding up the airplane, and the Vampire took some time to wind up. So I was coming around pylon 3 to 4. Planes going faster and faster. I was easily over 500, and I heard the loudest bang I've ever heard in a military jet airplane. Way louder than a compressor stall that sometimes you experience in engines doing maneuvers, especially like a spin or something. And so I immediately came off the course to get altitude. And a lot of this that I'm saying was happening in parallel. It wasn't happening one after another. But loud bang, I come off the course. I bring my power to mid range. I didn't want to stay at full power. I didn't want to stay at, and nor did I want to bring it to idle. So I'm zorching on up, looking to intercept my best glide speed, which is 160 knots. When that occurred, there was down on the bottom right corner of my canopy on the right side, all the way aft, massive hole in the canopy, like that big. And that's a bullet resistant glass, and that was propagating forward. And I was like, huh. And I looked at the engine gauges already, and there's not a lot of them in that plane. It's generation 0.5. But my temp was at 385. My R's looked good, and my pressure looked good. So I'm like, okay, it's not engine. And you really can't see anything indicative of the engine in the plane, like externally. I couldn't look outside, and I was hoping Chase would find me, but the Chase plane never found me. And meanwhile, on my way up, my elevator jammed, and I was going up, which was good, obvious reasons. Up is good.
Yeah, it was really good.
And at that point, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to get out of the plane. So let's point the plane away from harm's way, and I'm gonna have to jump out and use the parachute because I had a control jam. But again, a lot of this is happening in parallel. So I'm getting closer to about 11,000 feet. I'm reaching on my trim wheel, and I'm just gently moving it, back to test pilot days and trying to figure things out. And the elevator freed from moving the trim, I think. A lot of things are I think. So I pitched over, intercepted my best glide at 160, was setting up for recovery, and I did a functional control check multiple times. I put a little bit of load on it, and it was working okay. So I had set up for a normal overhead pattern, and that was one of my mistakes. So I came in at 4,200 AGL, so I was about 9,000 feet above the ground, and I came overhead. Things looked good. Engine was still showing the same thing. I really hadn't touched the engine. Still a lot of things in my head, like why this loud bang? Why a jam that's now working? It didn't add up. Still doesn't add up to this day. And long story short, I came overhead, and I went to the perch, and I was about to turn from the perch to basically similar to a base and then final. And that's where I needed to add RPMs. So I went for the throttle, and nothing happened.
Oh, great.
And the engine sat there at 385. I'll never forget that number. And everything looked fine on it. But then I started sweeping the throttle, and nothing happened there. So I couldn't make the 180 turn. So I turned north 90 degrees, was setting up for a dirt road, realized there was a cement piling about 3 feet tall right in front of me. So that's when I had a bank. Well, I didn't bank away. I ruddered away because I didn't want to have a bank angle that low. I called my final Mayday and set up for the emergency landing, moved my hand in a favorable position for crash impact and all that stuff. And I plowed through the desert for 1,600 feet and hopped out, got chased by rattlesnakes, went to the dirt road and started walking back. It was a very lonely feeling. but I was fine. So
that was it was kind of tense to watch. glad you made it in okay. And
Me
it's,
too.
it's just, yeah. I mean, it's just, it's not that it goes with the territory, but it goes with that territory. And
Yeah.
it's a show of, what aviators do, right? You have, you got to analyze, you got to react.
Yep.
And a lot of times you don't have all the answers until maybe never, but,
Still don't.
yeah,
I
the
told
bottom
him
line.
that plane was
Yeah.
tortured.
Oh, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a mess. But no, I was, it was, I got to say this correctly. I mean, it's okay if you have a crash at an aviation event. When the pilot walks away, it's kind of cool, right? I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, I walked away from it. So any landing that you can walk away from is a good landing.
Yeah.
It was a short field landing,
Yeah.
1,600 feet.
It left the mark financially.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, that's why fly Iskras are a whole lot cheaper. But it looks like Gene's asking a question here. Who are your biggest competitors in racing? I know you and Vandam used
Yeah.
to dice it out. I know you and a couple guys. Who did I mean, they're all great, right? But who did you really enjoy racing against?
Rick and I have had so much fun racing together. Him in number 5. It's been awesome. I mean, I trust him completely. I know he's not going to do anything that's unsportsmanly. He's not going to push out or any of those other things. And some people say that's racing, but we're there to reuse the plane after Sunday, And
Yeah.
so, we've enjoyed our competition. And I wish we got to finish this Sunday's race. And supporting race 5 as the alternate was Mike Steiger. And he's also great, really terrific to race against. Those are my 2, I'd say, bigger competitors that I enjoyed flying with. And, we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'd heard some rumor, and I don't know anything about it, but Min was telling me there's something really cool going to happen with American Spirit. So there's something in the works. You may know by the look of your smile. I don't know anything. At least that's what I'm going to say publicly. But some cool stuff coming down with these racers.
Yeah, next week my jet and that jet might be doing something fun in 2 weeks roughly. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we like cool stuff. So keep us informed if you would. Of course,
Absolutely.
right now you would have to kill me now if you told me. So speaking of which, what people may not know is, although you're also a race pilot and a business owner and all that, you are a book author as well.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
Promo the book. How's it doing? I heard sales are going well.
Really well. So written 2 books, and first one's called Relevant, and it's a military spy thriller based on a CIA developed asset that's developed early in life and goes on to chase bad guys around the world. That's Relevant. Oh, thanks. You guys are awesome.
It's relevant.
Technology. And then the second book is the New Cold War, and a lot of the Russian elements are in there. And I think I wrote the New Cold War better, I'd say, from a writing perspective. And we took a gold award with it, which I was very thrilled with. It was fun. And then the third book is close to being done, and that will have more of an Asian influence on it. The main character, Hodge, shifts his type of work. It's less kinetic, less behind the scope, more on the world players theater, I guess you'd say. And that one, I hope, you can hold me to it and shame me for it, but I hope I'll have that done by the end of summer. The story's done, but one thing I did realize, once the story is done and 80,000 words are on the page, is there's a lot more to do.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, good. I wasn't smart enough to get the other 2 books on there, but I did find the one book. So, but the other question here, I keep ignoring Laura. She keeps putting questions up here. I think you answered part of this, Pete. What's the biggest challenge facing the next chapter of air racing? My thought to that whole thing, and you may agree or disagree, I guess. My biggest challenge I see is getting the fans to do their part.
You
right? I
know,
mean, to show up.
I'll use this analogy. When we had the illustrious COVID event and Oshkosh was shut down, right? I
Yep.
had zero concern about Oshkosh because Oshkosh, as an event, one of my favorite events in the world, it has so much inertia behind it that they couldn't stop the next year from happening, and there was no risk that its size and capacity would diminish. When we shut down Reno, and we're told we can't fly close together, we might catch a virus. The Sorry, little formation joke.
Oh, I get you.
But the I suggested let's at least do a demo race, and to keep the attention there and just use the internet to get the message out and viewing. But my concern was the inertia behind it. We don't have the inertia. I always feel like we're hanging on by our nails, and that's my concern with this, and that's why I use that analogy. And is that we've got to get the inertia behind it so that it's just a train that you can't stop, and we're going to race no matter what. And that's getting politicians involved, the fans involved, insurance involved, lawyers involved, everyone on board, to create that inertia that's unstoppable, like Oshkosh has. Can you imagine someone getting voted into office in Wisconsin? They said, I'm going to shut down Oshkosh. It would
Yeah.
never happen. It would
No.
never happen. There's way too much. And you get one person saying that Stead is no longer a viable venue, boom, done. And I know people jump on me for that and say, well, it wasn't one person, it was this and that. And I get all that, I do, but it's still the same concept.
Yeah. I mean, Reno had solidified itself for, 60 years sitting there of racing history, unheard of in the world. And so you're absolutely right. I think, and I think we're both coming at it from a different way, but your explanation was very concise. Inertia. And Ken, thanks for your comments as well, because I think those are spot on. But it really is up to us as the fans. And that's, we are here kind of hanging on with nails and teeth. That's why I'm doing a podcast like this, right? Doing what I can do a little bit to keep that inertia going. But we really need far more than what one individual can do. And it's easy to point the finger at rah-rah and say, well, rah-rah ought to do this and rah-rah ought to do that. And they're only in a small group of people as well.
Yeah.
So getting that inertia, and that's what gets sponsors, right? Sponsors don't come on to provide inertia. Sponsors only tag on once that inertia is already there. So once you're big and famous, if I'm Taylor Swift, I've got can you imagine me as Taylor Swift? That's really
and I don't.
That's a visual.
Let's just skip that right now.
That's a different chapter of my life. Not there's anything wrong with that, but it's absolutely So everybody talks about sponsors, everybody talks about this and that, but that comes later. It's we need to be that Oshkosh. And quite frankly, I think that's one of the good reasons to have the air show this year, is because one of the big complaints when we were fat, dumb, and happy thinking the air races weren't going to end is somebody would come into the pits and complain that the air show wasn't good enough, that all they were there was racing airplanes and this place sucks because the air show wasn't great. Well, so now we got a great air show coming. We're going to have a night air show. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. Rumor has it that some Renegade Aviator is going to be flying as well. I had walked it. I had talked to the Blue Angels at one of the air shows and said I got more flight time than all you guys put together, and they just laughed at me and said, "Yeah, but we fly way cooler jets than you do." So, thanks a lot. It was a great comeback.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. So, Pete, I mean, it's are you coming back? I guess is my final question. We're coming up here at the end of the 30 minutes. Will we see Pete Zaccagnino for win number 5, gold racing champion?
I don't know. I mean, I was really happy with the win we had with the my sport plane, my legacy that I built, and we had a tough week for that plane. We had some really big issues with exhaust stacks and whatnot. But anyway, And I would want the racing to mature that plane. I'd really like to see that happen. The jets, it's going to depend where it's at, frankly. You know, I'm one of the few that pays his own way in the jet world, and for me to just fly to Florida in my jet, my God, I need a loan. You know? And I'm just evaluating it differently. Location is a big concern. I was really hoping for personal reasons it was going to be in Wendover, and Wendover's out, but it's one of the perfect venues, and especially for me because it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I'll be involved no matter what, you know, teaching, check rides, etc. It's a great family, but I'm not sure if I'm going to race the jet or not. That's a tough decision right now. And been there, done that, and maybe it's time to let someone else take that that front of the pack position. And Rick feels the same way. He's like, I don't need to do anymore. I'm like, neither do I. You know, let's let the new folks come in and up the ranks and learn and expand their abilities and racing abilities and win a gold. Then sometimes you just got to step aside and pass on the baton.
Yeah. Good.
But it's hard. It's hard to.
Should I check back once the final location is chosen?
You want me to give you the short answer on this?
Yeah.
Even if we had the final answer right now. So I start my winter maintenance on my personal planes, and for all those good reasons. And I'm going, why am I doing this? And I get all, and then come around like April, I do some test flying. I'm like, I don't have the time for this. I get all cranky, and you know that continues. And I got to get 2 planes to the races and all the logistics. And I start whining like a little baby. And then I get my first practice lap. I'm like, this is why I do this. You know?
There you go. There you go.
So,
it is addictive. It is very addictive. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, you know, I mean, I'm excited. I'm always excited. I think there's good and bad in everything.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and just the very fact that we get to, you know, have people like you come on so I can talk to friends of mine, and get your perspective. And thank you for putting on a great show out there. I mean, that's part of what it is, right? I mean, it's, we all grew up enjoying the, you know, carnival. You know, it's, and that's part of the reason why we do it, right? It is fun to kind of, you know, be those, because we all were there. We all were there at air shows and air racing where we were the people that got to meet those pilots, and you know, and so what I watched all the kids out there watching you whiz around the, you know, around the race course. I have COVID right now. I think I'm going to have to distance myself from everybody. Yeah, I was down in Mexico and caught something. I have no idea.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, but in any event, I'm looking forward to hearing what you and some other airplane are going to be doing with those 2 jets. I will look forward to that. And again, if there's anything that I can do to help you, give me a call.
I will.
Thank you very much. I do have one question before we go.
Yeah,
I found it was a picture I found. I need to have an explanation of this. It's now this is live off the. I just need to. I'll put it up here in a second. Is there anything you want to tell us? I love that shot. So all the embarrassing pictures I have on me anyway. But Pete, you know, we've been friends for a while. You've been a mentor of mine. We've had some fun together. I certainly appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, buddy. This was awesome. Let's do this again sooner than later.
We will. All right.
Okay, man.
Thanks, Pete.
You bet.
All right. See ya. All right, everybody. I'm just going to finish up real quick. Remember, get your tickets to the RenoAirShow.org the 4th to 6th of October. And I apologize for my voice today. I am struggling through it, but we have adapted and overcame. We're at 34 minutes, went a little bit long. But as always, this is David Costa. I am the Renegade Aviator. See ya.